Hi there, welcome to the midday update. I'm Jessy Chahal. As we kickstart the week, we have lots of news here for you. Some not so good, some quite bad, and some other good news as well. Of course, we know the nation is heading towards the National Recovery Plan, in which we hope to achieve some of those set milestones already. On the show today, I'll be speaking to Dr. Khairil Amilin Shahdan from the Emergency Department in Doncaster in the UK to tell us a little bit about the COVID situation there and what's it like in the emergency department over there as well. We're also swiftly in the Malaysia Tech Month 2021, or MTM as it's known in short form, and of course to expect a lot of technology based news that we will try to share with you as well. Now, first things first, this just in earlier this morning, singer Siti Raissuddin, who underwent a caesarean delivery last week, has passed on early this morning after she was hospitalized for COVID-19. Her husband, Shahmira Muhammad, also popularly known as Shuib Sapatu, disclosed her death on his Instagram account. This, of course, is a loss to the local R&B scene, and she is a known household name here in Malaysia, especially in the music industry. But from that, we move on to the Olympics. That came to a close over the weekend. I hope many of you, in fact, caught the closing ceremony. It was lots of color and joy as we celebrated and remembered that we're all really part of one greater being or greater nation, and that we're all the same, we're all equal despite our many differences. But the pocket rocket man brings home an Olympic silver for us, making us all very proud, alongside all the other athletes I must also recognize at this point of time. But the Prime Minister has come out to describe track cyclist DATUK Muhammad Azizul Hasni Awang as the real champion for the people of Malaysia, despite missing out on the gold at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games. Now, in a dramatic final, I hope you caught that as well. He, of course, crossed the finish line. Muhammad Azizul Hasni, he placed second, clinching the silver. The Prime Minister added, Malaysians are all proud of his achievement as he portrayed a great fighting spirit in the final there. It was a close call, just seconds and minutes into grabbing a medal. Now, the Prime Minister has also said Malaysia's dream to win its first Olympic gold can be made possible at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games. Just 3 more years to go there, and another bout of the Olympics will come our way. Now, the government has decided that those who have been fully vaccinated are allowed to dine in again in states and federal territories that are in phase 2 and above of the National Recovery Plan. We do seem to be edging closer towards more relaxation as well. The Prime Minister has advised the public to only dine in if required and still opt to take away if possible. So with this relaxation, perhaps we can all remember that we still need to adhere to our SOPs. We still need to keep safe. Now, there are some benefits and maybe some do's and don'ts for those who are fully vaccinated and living in phase 2 and phase 3 states from August 10th onwards. The Prime Minister has advised to choose a location or a restaurant that you'll be dining in that has good ventilation system and it's open air in that sense. And if you wish to bring your children out age 17 and below to dine in as well, do ensure that they're also in compliance with the SOPs, and that would mean, of course, the face mask and social distancing, and of course sanitization as well. Do not forget about your MICE Jatra app. These things are the new normal. They still remain. And with tourism, the Prime Minister has come out to say that fully vaccinated individuals are allowed the benefits of staying as travelers at homestays and hotels within the same state that they are in. So no out-of-state travel, but within the same state. And those living in phase 2 states with fully vaccinated status will also get to enjoy staying at hotels for tourism purposes from August 10th onwards. And outdoor sports as well. There is some relaxation around that. Those fully vaccinated in phase 2 and phase 3 can enjoy non-contact sports that are not group sports, such as jogging, exercise, tai chi, cycling, skateboarding, fishing, equestrian, archery, hiking, tennis, and badminton are some of the examples given here. Even golf and motorsports in outdoor or semi-outdoor settings from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And inter-district travel is allowed, but you must show your COVID-19 vaccination digital certificate to security personnel at roadblocks to show that you are fully vaccinated or of your vaccination status as well. As I have my guests ready and on standby, in the background. We also want to look a little bit, or perhaps address a little bit of what else the Prime Minister said earlier today. And this is basically a statement that says the government has approved travelling and home quarantine for Malaysians and permanent residents who have completed their vaccination as well. So apart from that, relaxation of the SOPs for the economic sector will soon be announced as is it still being discussed and assessed by the National Security Council. And of course, married couples who have your spouse or your partner away from you, now you're allowed to travel to of course see them. The Deputy Prime Minister, Datuk Ismail Sabri, says growing children should not be separated from their parents for too long. Hear ye, hear ye. Now, adding to that, from the 10th of August, married couples living apart can also cross state district borders to meet each other. And here's a quick update as well. NADMA, the National Disaster Management Agency, has channeled 10.3 million ringgit to the next of kin of 2,061 individuals who have died from the coronavirus under the Special Assistance of COVID-19 Death Management. This number and figures as of last Friday. Now, a total of 3,000 plus applications have been received for the assistance, while about 590 applications are still being processed and over 900 are still under data matching. So only the next of kin Malaysian citizens who have passed on because of COVID-19 can apply for this one-off special assistance of 5,000 ringgit each, where only one beneficiary is eligible to receive the aid. If you need any help like this, please do reach out to NADMA to help you facilitate the application process as well. A quick update from our health minister as we talk of things COVID and in this global health crisis as well. A total of 24.5 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine has already been administered under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program. And so to break it down by percentage, 48.3% of the country's population has received the first dose, while 26.9% has completed the 2-dose vaccination. And I, of course, look at these numbers on a daily basis and happy to report that we see progress. But perhaps we also need to consider the other numbers to understand the gravity of the situation. These are just the facts and the data, but the onus is still on us to ensure that we adhere to our SOPs and we keep safe. Remember what the World Health Organization has said, and also what has been echoed by our government as well, that no one is safe until all of us are safe. Which is a great time for me to bring in now my guest, Dr. Khairil Amilin Shahdan, who is, of course, in the UK now, dialing in at an absurd, some people call it an ungodly hour. And of course, he has to, of course, rush off to work as well. Doctor, thanks for being with us. It's good to speak to you. Doctor, further evidence has emerged saying that the latest outbreak of the pandemic over there in the UK has eased. The number of people apparently has dropped across most parts of the country for those who have contracted the virus. What can you tell us about the situation from where you are?
Good afternoon, Jess. Thank you for inviting me, first of all. Yes, thank you for inviting me. The numbers have definitely dropped after we've come out of what I call lockdown, and we had so-called Freedom Day on the 19th of July, where all the measures related to COVID have been eased, like strictly, lawfully, that you had to wear a face mask, you have to abide by social distancing. So the numbers have dropped. I think this is because of several factors. I think the main thing is because of the mass vaccination program that the UK has really pushed forward. The coverage is one of the best in the world. So I think it's about 80% that have received the first dose, and nearly 2/3 have received their second doses. I do take the numbers with a bit of a pinch of salt because this is the summer holidays, and people are not mixing as much, as in schools are not mixing as much, so transmissions might be less. So the weather's much better as well, so people tend to be going out a lot more, which is a good time, I think, to ease all the COVID measures. But yeah, we're approaching it with optimism, but we're also approaching it very cautiously.
That's right, Doc. As you spoke and we rolled some visuals there, I do miss that sense of wanting or having the ability to be able to travel, to go overseas, to the UK, of course, and other parts of the world. But it is what it is right now. We really have to stick to our guns and ensure that we play our part and we keep safe as much as possible. Now, Doctor, of course, you run an emergency department there. Now, from day one of the COVID till now, how much has really changed in the running of an emergency department?
So massively. From day one, there was a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of unknown, not probably just to us, but probably all over the world, because this is not something we've dealt with on a massive scale. A pandemic. There was lots of changes with regards to things like PPE, how we divided the hospital. So what we've done at the moment is, as you come through the emergency department, there are already screening questions before you even enter the hospital. Say, have you been in contact with someone who have COVID, or you might have COVID, or are you just recovering from COVID? So we try to separate those with suspected COVID, confirmed COVID, or even contacts of COVID into a different area of the emergency department and into the rest of the hospital as well. So we also make some changes to how we segregate our staff as well. So we do a risk assessment for all our staff. So in terms of looking at their age and their comorbidities, put them into low, medium, high risk. Again, to allow some sensitivity how different staff can be allocated to different areas of the hospital and the emergency department. We also encourage our staff to be tested twice a week. So we have these devices called lateral flow devices, which the public in UK can get it freely available. So we test our staff twice a week, and these are home kits. I think in Malaysia you call them rapid test kits or RTKs. Yeah. So that's one thing that it's not foolproof, but it's a risk reduction strategy. So we pick up about 2% who carriers who are asymptomatic. Again, this is just to protect not just our staff but our patients as well. Dealing with COVID does also have implications on how we deal with the flow through the emergency department. So every patient that needs to be admitted now will get tested before they come into hospital. So they have a different corridor, a different lift. So we try to work with our infection control team quite closely, again to reduce or minimize the risk of other patients who don't have COVID contracting COVID.
But from what I'm hearing, Doc, that's quite a bit of a change or sort of a restructure in terms of your day-to-day SOPs as well, even though it was, pre this outbreak. Nonetheless, I like what you said. It is to manage the risk. It's not a foolproof sort of a system. We are still always in danger of exposure in that sense. But Doc, as a Malaysian living abroad, help us with our sort of general viewpoint here. We somehow are of the opinion that adhering to SOPs in the UK is a tough thing. Are people following SOPs, or is it a long drawn battle to get people to keep with the program, even as simple as sort of wearing the mask and so on?
Yes, so it was actually a long process to get the public to wear a mask. When we first looked back at COVID, probably a year ago, a mask in this country were quite foreign or alien thing to do, because there was a lot of stigma to wearing masks. I remember the time where I was back in KL at school, when we had, I think, SARS, we just wore masks and no questions asked. Whereas over here, there was a lot of skepticism. Was there any real evidence with wearing masks? But obviously now there is. So even initially there was, talks that there wasn't any evidence, but now there is. People have grown to wearing masks, even though it's not compulsory now. People are just wearing masks because there is enough evidence to show that it does help. But it was a long process because it's a definite change in culture. And if you try to do something so quickly, and without the appropriate sort of priming of the public, then your adherence will be low. So it was a slow process. It needed constant communications from all the media, the news, to slowly get the public to adhere to all the different SOPs and guidelines, social distancing, not being able to go out, limiting how many individuals are allowed into one space, not being able to dine out. So it was a massive cultural shift. But I think showing that we were not in this alone, that the whole world was experiencing the same things. I think generally we just had to accept it eventually.
That's right. Doc, not much time left on our clock. Very quickly, what are some of the current do's and don'ts post Freedom Day? I.e., also what has changed from a year ago, besides the obvious, and of course the other point is that you have showed us. I guess in a nutshell, what can Malaysia emulate from some of the lessons in the UK?
So the do's and don'ts first. The do's, you can travel anywhere in the country. Masks are not compulsory, but are highly advisable that you do wear them. You don't necessarily need to social distance, but again, all highly advisable. So it's not the law now, whereas previously it was. So basically, you can do most things. However, the main don'ts are traveling. So there are certain countries where there are restrictions in terms of traveling. We have the red, amber and green countries. So for example, red countries, if you do visit a red country, you have to come back and quarantine for 10 days in a hotel, and then get tested in day 2 and day 8. And amber countries like Malaysia, you can quarantine your own home rather than a hotel. And what can Malaysia?
Thank goodness for home quarantine. I mean, as bad as it is already, to have to quarantine in a hotel, and hundreds and thousands of people have done it so far. So kudos to them. Doctor, what are some of the thoughts you can leave us with very quickly, under 30 seconds?
So it's not over yet. Be cautious, but be optimistic. The only way out of this is we do things collaboratively. We work with our scientists, with our public health experts. But I'm sure in a way we can do this together. I mean, where there's challenges, there's always opportunities to work together.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Of course, we wish that you will, of course, have it easier there on another regular day. But we also hope that you're not too homesick. I'm sure everyone, wants to have you back here, especially family and friends as well. But work must go on. We'll speak to you soon. Again, in the meantime, do stay safe. And thank you for all the great work that you're doing. We'll see you soon.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Jessy.
That was Dr. Khairil Amilin Shahdan dialing in from the UK. He runs an emergency department in Doncaster in the UK, and of course giving us perspective and insight into some of the examples there and the situation there as well. It is Malaysia Tech Month 2021. It's time to bring in Nordin Abdullah, crisis management analyst and expert, to weigh in a little bit on this mega virtual month-long curation that will electrify digital and technology keynotes. Hi, Nordin. It also includes workshops, discussion panels, and business matching sessions. What are some of your initial thoughts, Nordin, when you heard about the Malaysia Tech Month?
I thought it was an awesome idea because we've got COVID-19 creating all kinds of change around us. And one of the key things that we've seen from everyone's response is a technology-driven response. So when we see the response becoming more and more technical, we take out a lot of the human mistakes. We take out a lot of those digital, and we move it to the digital world. And I think we've seen some huge success stories around digital month.
All right, so this is, of course, something that I picked up off MDEC's website. MDEC's aspiration is to firmly establish our country as the heart of digital ASEAN, meaning a regional digital powerhouse that launches global champions to lead the fourth IR, or the fourth industrial revolution, ensuring that we have a secure digital economy as well, and that obviously to equal up to a shared prosperity for all Malaysians. With things sort of, in a bit of a crisis situation right now, what, in your opinion, can be the short-term goals while we battle, a health crisis? How do we ensure that maybe there can be also some success from the Malaysia Tech Month?
Well, I think the sooner we move to something, we move companies into that digital realm, the faster, the better. And I think that's going to be the short-term goals. When the Malaysian government starts to put together next year's budget, I think we need to allocate more budget to digitalization, digitalizing government delivery, digitalizing SME delivery, and of course for GLCs also to really drive that agenda so that big companies with big budgets are able to spend the money that's required to get the job done. It will be an expensive exercise, but the good thing about that is there's going to be a lot of jobs created designing, developing, and delivering the technology that's needed to bring Malaysia into that next phase of growth post-COVID-19.
Right. Okay. At this point, I'd like to bring in Gerard Ratnam. He is at the office, bringing in some international news and what's trending worldwide as well. Hi, Gerard. Thanks for joining Nordin and I. We spoke to you last on Friday, and you, of course, had prepared or had an insight into some of the global stories as well. What's on the plate today?
Well, we'll move into the most civilized nation on earth. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, he's warned that vaccine hesitancy could lead to the development of future COVID variants that are resistant to the current crop of vaccines. Now, he goes on to say that unvaccinated people who had previously been infected by COVID also remain vulnerable to any new variants of the virus. So no one is safe till everyone's safe. I'm using your line, Jess. Now, according to a new poll, Australian Prime Minister, and maybe Nordin would like to weigh in, something from the old country here. Scott Morrison's public approval ratings hit the lowest level since the pandemic began amid growing frustration over lockdowns and a sluggish vaccination drive. So a news poll conducted for the Australian newspaper showed Morrison's public support dropped to about 47%, the lowest level since he fielded criticism early last year, if you think about it, over his government's response to the devastating bushfires. I'm sure most of us in news cannot forget that. Now, Morrison has been under fire for slow vaccine rollout, and this is one of the bigger problems he's facing at this point. And in Indonesia, closer to home, the Indonesian Health Ministry reported yesterday that coronavirus cases across the country rose by over 26,000 within the past 24 hours. The death toll added another 1,498, currently stands at 107,096, and not very good numbers there, but that's coming out from Indonesia. That's all I have in our international snapshot. Over to you, Jess.
Thank you so much, Gerard, for weighing in, and we'll speak to you soon. Nordin?
Yeah, if I could weigh into the Australian story, of course. I think one of the things that COVID-19 has given us is the understanding that public figures will get two sides of this coin, and it's a double-edged sword at the same time. So if you get it right, your public approval rating goes through the roof. At the same time, if you are sluggish in delivering those kind of things, people punish you very quickly. But I think
can I just jump in here? If facts are facts, how do we manage this crisis in perception point of view, Nordin?
Well, this is what I wanted to say, Jessy and Gerard, is sometimes you need to make unpopular decisions. And I think this is the thing that you've got to realize, that in a crisis, you make unpopular decisions because that's what's best for the greatest amount of people in the shortest amount of time. So sometimes you will see leaders making unpopular decisions, but that's actually what's best. They've got to recover that in their reputation and their popularity because they want to be elected. But in crisis thinking, you've got to get it right.
Right. If I could just add in here, approval of Morrison's handling of the pandemic. Just listen to this. Almost halved from a high of 85% in April last year during the peak of the first wave of infections to 48%. So it's gone down tremendously, and it happened in a span of a year. So people just didn't make that decision and say, hey, look, he's not good. Tomorrow his ratings are going to go down. It took a year for the ratings to get from 80% to 48%. So there's some considerable damage. I don't know when I say damage, I don't know how much of a damage has been done in administrating the country. Yeah.
What I'm thinking, Gerard, is we're in a war of attrition, and our frontline soldiers are going to pay the price for that. So in whichever country, Malaysia, Australia, we see Fauci has also lost massive support. But at the same time, he continues to beat the drum of, look, you've still got to get this right because it saves people's lives. And if that has to cost someone's political career, I think that's, is the cost that a lot of politicians are going to face during this COVID-19 pandemic.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time today. I hope to speak to you in our next episode. Do take care and stay safe. I have no more time left on my clock. Thank you very much. Okay, for those of you watching, thanks for staying with me as well. Here's a quick look at what's trending on Twitter. Lionel Messi, fans and supporters of this football superstar all over the world have been expressing their disappointment and unhappiness of him leaving Barcelona. And Malaysians have been flooding Twitter by congratulating our professional cyclist DATUK Azizul on his Tokyo Olympics achievement over the weekend. Very quick point here. I want to say, while we celebrate as well, let's not forget all the other athletes, whether they came home with a medal or placing or not. Still, a lot of hard work being put behind that. Let's also celebrate them. And unfortunately, this news I have to share as well happened earlier this morning. Fans, supporters, and colleagues of Malaysia's well-known singer Siti Sarah are all over Twitter expressing their grief, sadness, as well as conveying condolences. May she rest in peace. That's all for this edition of the Midday Update. Thanks for watching. Bye.